Hello, and welcome back to the Mindful Dose podcast. I am recording this episode on camera, so if you're watching, hey, it's nice to see you guys. If you're just listening, that's cool too. I will try my best to be as descriptive about what I'm showing here in the edits. This is the first time I'm actually doing this from home, so be patient with me if you're watching this. I'm going to try to cut it and edit, maybe share my screen if it doesn't cause too much um, chaos for me in the moment while I'm recording. I mean, I kind of feel like it's like a juggling, which is a skill that I don't physically have. So, all right, let's begin by settling in, taking a deep breath out. Do another reset breath like that. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. And this episode is another Lunar Talks episode. The time that I'm recording this, it's 1:40 p.m. on November 19th, 2025. This is the day before a new moon in Scorpio at 28 degrees. This is a really exciting time because and I know a lot astrologers will say that a lot about transits, but like really listen to the reasoning behind why we are explaining it's an exciting time, whether it's this moment or the next moment, because astrology creates these really exciting configurations in the sky. And what it means when we say it's exciting is that it's kind of like all it's like you're cooking and there's like special ingredients involved and you're just like, whoa, what is that going to create? So when we say it's exciting like that, it's just we have 12 ingredients in several different ways, right? Signs, houses, planets, and the way that it gets mixed together that in a way that it gets mixed together, creating certain aspects to each other, to multiple layers of other elements. It that's what makes it exciting. So, with this lunation, this new moon in Scorpio happening on November 20th at 6:47 a.m. Eastern time, for me, like I'm looking at the chart right now and I can see that there's a grand trine with all the water signs. So the new moon is making a trine aspect to Neptune in Pisces. It's also making a trine aspect to Jupiter in Cancer. So it's interesting. We'll start with this aspect that this lunation is making. Oh my God, there's so many. We'll start with this one, just because I'm a Pisces sun. I have a Pisces stellium in my chart, so I'm really called to the water element right now. And I kind of want to backtrack just a little bit. With these lunation talks, I am an astrologer, self-taught, but I'm also in the process of getting a formal training. So the structure of these episodes at the moment are very loose. I would not compare myself to those professional astrologers who do this full time. I admire them. But my approach at this moment is a very loose conversation about the lunation, and also I will incorporate my psychic skills in terms of interpreting and reading the chart. So whatever intuitively comes up to me, I will bring it forward, and we'll just see how the time and the events of the lunation go, and we can backtrack and talk about it. So now I'm going to jump into the reading of the chart. There's a lot to it. I feel intuitively called to start with this grand trine. I'm a Pisces, like I said, so I feel more sensitive to this information. With Neptune, Neptune is a really slow planet. So if you don't know anything about astrology, the reason why I feel so called to this aspect with Neptune is that Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, right? So 2025 is now, 2011 was 14 years ago. So it takes Neptune that much time to go through the zodiac sign from 0 degrees to 29 degrees. Now, 14 years is not exact. Neptune will go back into Aries next year, and then stay in Aries for the next like 14 years and change. And this shift in the sky with this slower moving planet, this shift defines a generational shift. So, looking at Neptune and Pisces from 2011 to now, generationally, worldwide, well, I can't say worldwide because I don't know much about the history of countries outside of the United States, but I will say, speaking from my perspective here in the United States, the 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 collective connection to spirituality has really blossomed. It has gone from like something closely structured to religion and has expanded more into like well-being practices, including yoga, including card reading, including astrology. So all of this has really kind of blossomed. And within the world of astrology, we have seen astrology during this time breathe new life. And astrology right now is going through a transformation in its overall history. Astrologers are excited to see how it's developing because there's two types. There's a traditional astrology and then there's the modern astrology. So they look at things in the chart completely different, but the birth of a blend of these two happened during Neptune in Pisces, excuse me. So, something like astrology has kind of established roots here in our collective conscious, and we're going to see that grow and take the lead in the next like 14 or so years. That is just one little blip of information that Neptune and Pisces, I feel Neptune and Pisces has brought to the collective conscious. So, this new moon connecting to this Neptune and Pisces is kind of like this last seed that's going into our collective conscious in relation to our spirituality, into our inner guru, in our inner worlds, because Jupiter is also in a water sign, Cancer, also involved in all of this. So I really feel like taking a step back, I really feel that this last seed planted within this grand trine with this Neptune in Pisces, with this opportunistic Jupiter in Cancer, this last seed is relevant to our inner world, our inner psyche, and our home base. I love this for us. For me, like everyone's chart is different, so all of these points are going to hit us differently. Some people may have, excuse me, some people may have, let's say, a placement at one of these degrees. Cancer at 25 degrees, Pisces at 29, or Scorpio at 28 degrees. These are like if you're Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, this is for anyone who's born later in that season. So for example, this is a new moon in Scorpio. If you have a birthday of like November 20th, November 21st, November 19th, this is very relevant, very, very, very relevant to you. But if you were like early Scorpio, like October 24th, October 25th, it still affects you by sign, but by degree, it's a little bit less intense. If you don't have anything in these signs, Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, don't worry, there's other activity going on in this chart. So that's my feeling with the grand trine happening on this lunation. This last seed that we're planting is relevant to our inner world and our inner psyche, and it's being so supportive by this Jupiter in Cancer. So whatever it is that we are planting finally in our faith. I'm gonna even go with that, in our faith, because we have Mars in Scorpio right now. Mars isn't making an aspect, but it's still an element in the sky. It's still an ingredient in this thing that's being cooked up. So we have an element of faith in here. And I feel that with the Jupiter in Cancer, this will be nurtured and this will be supported in the best way possible. The new moon, now I'm going to move into the new moon aspect with Mercury. So, Mercury, new moons are like the sun and the moon are at the same degree of the same zodiac sign. So, the sun and the moon are at 28 degrees of Scorpio. Mercury in retrograde. Mercury retrograde. Sorry, sometimes the language just slips out the wrong way. Mercury retrograde is at Scorpio at 28 degrees, just like the sun and the moon. So, Mercury being retrograde, there is this revisitation theme involved as well. This revisitation to something that is emotionally, passionately deep for you. Wherever Scorpio is in your chart, I would pay attention to the themes associated with that house. So I'm an Aries rising. Scorpio is in my eighth house of transformation and spirituality. So you would just find Scorpio in your chart, find the number of that, what I call pizza slice, and then just connect the theme of Scorpio to that house theme. Now, so you're revisiting things that are very close to you, perhaps things that have transformed you. There's a connection here within your heart to revisit these themes and find where you're going to plant this seed. So, again, you have the support, you have the spiritual element to it, you have this faith element to it. This Mercury aspect is kind of telling you like where exactly to plant it, where to begin. So, that revisitation is like you don't have to look for anything new. This is already information available to you. You're given this second chance to go back to something. Let's see what else is involved. Oh, yeah, another generational planet, Uranus, is at 29 degrees of Taurus. Scorpio and Taurus are opposites. As I mentioned earlier, the sun and the moon in Mercury retrograde are at 28 degrees Scorpio. Uranus in the opposite sign is at 29 degrees. What are the odds of that? Here is a special ingredient. Uranus was entered Taurus in 2018 or 19. I don't have the exact date, but it was in Taurus as far back as that time, 2018, 2019, has moved through Taurus for the last 7 years. It entered Gemini this past summer, 2025, and it's currently retrograde. So it has been moving back out of Uranus, moving back into Taurus. So just like Neptune, there is a revisitation here. Mercury goes retrograde frequently, 3 times a year. So sometimes it will retrograde only through one sign. Sometimes it will retrograde at the beginning of one sign, and then move back into another sign. So Mercury retrograde in this chart went from Sagittarius to Scorpio. So that Mercury, that thinking, communication, and even traveling is putting us in this lunation in two different places. So, but we're just going back to an original starting point with that Mercury element. With the Neptune and the Uranus element, this is a collective conscious experience. So, the Uranus and Taurus, this is a transformation in our material and our values and the things that we can actually like be tangible with. Now, Uranus and Taurus has been interesting. During this time, we have seen changes in our finances, like Bitcoin, like digital money. We have seen changes in our working situation, the way that we handle work. So we have shifted to a more work from home community. Uranus and Taurus has also brought changes in our food. Like I can clearly go back to 2020 when like we had um, we had limitations to what we could get at the grocery store. And then most recently at the time of my recording, we recently had a government shutdown, and we saw how that affected us with access to food supplies for anyone who was on SNAP. So sorry if I sound ignorant and I don't have like the full throttle details, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say with this Uranus and Taurus. And that recent development was it just took place at the same time that Uranus shifted back from Gemini into Taurus. So our resources are really affected with this Uranus placement, Uranus being this planet of surprise and revolution is another word that is used. So it's like transformation, but like this is the new way kind of transformation. Not just transformation like soft, subtle, normal within normal reasons. This is like a collective transformation. So we all like, are experiencing it. This is opposite the new moon. So this is opposite the seed that we're planting. In a way that I can see this in our lunation is like our last opportunity to kind of like finalize our values and our material things. Uranus, again, is a collective planet, so it's hard for me to kind of interpret this on an individual level, but I would definitely reflect on like your Scorpio and your Taurus chart. With Uranus in Taurus, in your chart, I would consider that like again, it's kind of hard if I don't know your house. But for me, it's an Aries rising. Uranus is in right now in my second house of finances and my personal assets. And funny enough, I'm selling a house. So hopefully there are good surprises. Surprises like depending on how you feel about the word surprises, it could mean whatever it means to you, but the actual experience of it is going to be different. So I'm curious to see how this will play out for me. New moons, they tend to take like a week to kind of like support the soil of whatever seed it is that you're planting, but you typically don't see the manifestation of that new moon until it's the opposite signs new moon, full moon season. So in Taurus season, like April and May, we'll see how these seeds are developing. All right, so that's the Uranus placement. We talked about the Grand Trine. There are a couple of other elements, like we have Saturn in Pisces at 25 degrees. So it's the new moon is separating from our Saturn in Pisces, which is another interesting one because this is between a personal, this is more like a personal planet. Saturn goes through a zodiac sign in like 2.5 to 3 years. Saturn was in Aries also this summer. So this summer like was a vibe shift. And then once September came around, we were returning back to the energy before the summer, but from a different perspective. And Saturn was one of those planets that shifted its vibe, went into Aries, but has started to move back into Pisces. So Saturn in Pisces is also involved here, just a little tiny less, but I would see how this is going to affect more water sign placements. in terms of structure, in terms of implementing the very deep lessons that you've learned in the last 2 to 3 years. Again, I'm a Pisces, and I also had my Saturn return, so this all totally makes sense for me. I've had to learn a lot in terms of like home ownership, my my business, my mental health. Pisces is also about your mental health and like your inner world, right? So I feel like still a student, but strong enough to know like I'm not a beginner, you know? So that's kind of like the vibe shift with the Saturn placement here as well. And I think that kind of covers some of the major points that were calling to me with this lunation. Um, I'm curious to know how this new moon is for you guys. I'm going to pull a card for us to send us off with a message. I've already shuffled and I'm going to use the Rider Tarot deck, very traditional. All right. So, okay, we have the Death card. So, if you're just listening, the Death card is one of the most infamous cards of the tarot deck. But pretty fitting for Scorpio season. Scorpio season is about transformation. One of the keywords that we use is death and rebirth. So this is really a time to let go and start from new. So with the death card, it's a skeleton knight on a white horse. He's carrying a black flag with some art on it, which I don't know what it means. And he is greeted by some people. One who is in a gold cloak who looks like maybe, yeah, this is like Renaissance art. So I don't really know what position to call this person, but he's in a cloak and he's wearing a gold crown. And he's got his hands like he's pleading. Um, and then there are some people on their knees. And behind them is a picture of the sun rising. So the death card is not scary, and it doesn't quite literally mean, passing, but it does represent the symbol of things passing. It represents the symbol of things moving back into the earth, move like the elements shifting out of one container and into another. So I feel like this new moon really is about planting seeds in totally new soil. hmm Giving something new a try. This is relating to your spirituality. This is relating to your intuition. And this is relating to the connection that you have with the world on an intuitive level. I know this sounds kind of woo-woo, but like Neptune in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, the new moon in Scorpio, all of these water elements, they represent our emotional side. The planets also are indicating that this is a time for like that emotional structure, and it's going to be supported. It's all supported. This Mars in Sagittarius is like that drive that's like we're going, get in the car. My car started, the heater's on, we're going, there's no looking back. Okay, we're going in this direction, and we're gonna be all right. We're gonna trust that we'll be all right. So I love this new moon. I'm so excited. I'm already like I feel personally changed under this lunation. I'm not saying that the lunation changes me, but I feel a change under the skies that this lunation is setting itself up for. I'm curious to know how you feel during this time. And we'll check back in 2 weeks when it's the full moon in Gemini. Just after this lunation, we'll be moving into Sagittarius season. So, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next time.